Hello everyone and welcome back to Car and Bike. I'm Bilal and today we have with us two SUVs who are like chalk and cheese. They couldn't be more different. But look closely and you'd notice that they have a shared streak. They're diesel hard. On my right is the handsome looking, formidable and still going strong, the Jeep Compass. On my left is again a handsome looking, futuristic and feature loaded Tata Harrier facelift. Both available in diesel automatic 4x2 avatar. Now, as I said, these two might have a similar powertrain, but they cater to very different car buyers. So which one of these two is better suited for you? We'll be decoding it throughout the course of this video. So before we begin, do consider subscribing to the Car and Bike YouTube channel if you haven't already, and hit that bell icon as well so that you can be notified every time we upload a new informative video such as this. Now let's take this fight across 5 different rounds, the first one being design and styling. And let's kick things off with the Harrier first because it's been a year since this facelift came out, and ever since it's out, this one it's setting a benchmark in how things should look. Now admittedly, design and styling, it's a very subjective matter, but I'm sure not many people would disagree with me when I say that this is one good looking design. And in comparison, this Jeep, it has a very conservative but equally mature design. This design, it was out in 2021 when the last facelift arrived, but it's been soldiering on ever since with little to no changes. However, it's still a handsome looking design, more importantly because of its masculine stance, its proportion, and good cuts and creases. So overall, when it comes to design and styling, both these cars, they carry a very distinct styling cue. While the Harrier, it's more futuristic looking, it's much more fresh, the Compass, it has aged gracefully, but it has aged nonetheless. So overall, in comparison, if the Harrier, it's more of a heavyweight fighter, the Compass, it's comparable to an MMA fighter. But which one do you prefer? Which design is your preference? Let us know in the comment section below. Now after the exterior, the round 2 has to be its cabin, and like the exterior, both these cars' cabin are poles apart. Now we begin with the Harrier first, and once you step inside, you're welcomed with a very modern and futuristic cabin which was updated with the facelift, and you're welcome with a large white touchscreen and all digital drivers display and a lot of sense of space. Now despite all this black cabin and a very funky looking contrast finishes on the inside, this cabin has a lot of sense of space, especially when you step inside after the Compass. And more than that, the build quality and the materials used all around, it's fitting of the price. But it's not without fault though. This cabin, it squeaks a lot and it's not exactly very ergonomic. Now once you step inside the Compass right after the Harrier, you would immediately notice a few things. The first thing you would notice is that you sit inside the Compass and not very towering like you do in the Harrier. So you sit very close to the ground and you get a very car-like feel to it. Secondly, you would also notice that this entire cabin, it might feel very bland. It doesn't have a lot of character or a futuristic appeal or a party piece like you do in the Harrier. But spend more time here and you would notice that this is a very ergonomic cabin. You can spend a lot of time here, everything is within the reach, and the fit and finish is top notch. It's a proper premium car like feel over here. And thirdly, you would also notice that this is a very tight cabin when compared to the Harrier. Because this is a smaller car, the cabin feel of the Compass, it is on a very tighter side. Now round 2 done, the third round has to be the second row space because both these SUVs are family SUVs, right? So let's begin with the Harrier again, and getting inside the Harrier, because this is a bigger and taller car, getting inside is literally climbing inside. And once inside, you'd notice a very stark difference between the Compass and the Harrier, especially when it comes to space. Now these seats are large and good enough for 3, but more importantly, it's also soft and very accommodating. And I'm a huge fan of this airplane-like head cushions, which is really a boon when you're traveling long distances. Now, overall, as I said earlier, this cabin feels much more larger, and if you are looking for an SUV, especially for the second row space, you have to go for the Harrier. Now, as you would expect from the Compass, the second row space is very compact. Yeah, getting inside is easier because you sit much lower, especially when compared to the Harrier. But once inside, you will notice that this is a very compact cabin. You can fit two adults here comfortably, but welcoming a third person here won't be comfortable. Sure, you can fit a kid here in the center, but apart from that, this is a very tight space. As for the seat, the recline angle is slightly upright for my liking, but the seat cushioning is perfect for long distance touring. It's neither too soft, neither too stiff, so it's good for spending long hours in, especially the under thigh support that you get here. Now, taller passengers would find this space very compact, especially for the headroom, but here at my frame at 5.6, I'm not complaining. And after the cabin, we finally come to the boot space, and both these cars, they offer a large and cavernous boot space, which they owe to in this price and segment. Now, if you look at them, it won't be noticeable which one has a larger boot unless you go in with a measuring tape. But if you still want the figures, this one, it has 445 liters, while this one has 438 liters. And the difference, it comes in slightly taller height of the boot and slightly extra space on the either side. But both these cars have a large luggage carrying capacity for your occasional intercity travels. And now we come to the fourth round, which is about features. And this admittedly is a one-sided round because the Tata Harrier, it offers more, hands down, end of discussion, right? But no, I beg to differ because this, the Jeep Compass, it has a lot of features. Its extensive feature list, it gets you everything which you would ever need in your day-to-day usability. It's only the fact that the Tata Harrier, it gives you more, be it the feel-good features or the gimmicky ones, that tips the weight in its favor in this round, including the ADAS. But if you want to see a detailed comparison of the feature list that both of these cars offer, you can pause the screen and take a look at the detailed feature list, or you can visit our website www.carandbike.com. Now let me begin by saying that if you actually want to experience that old school diesel character right now, this 2-liter 4-cylinder is the best one out there right now currently, and more so here in the Compass, because here in the Compass the clatter, it's well contained, the insulation is good. Sure, at city speed the engine might feel a bit sluggish, but that's more so because of that slow nature of the 9-speed torque converter. It holds on to the gear for a bit longer, and it feels a bit lazy in upshifting and a bit jerky in downshifting as well. But out on the highway, it's where this engine is meant to be driven, especially with this gearbox, because on the highway that sluggish nature, it completely disappears. It has good enough torque or the pull from the diesel engine at slow speed, but out on the highway in a different tune altogether. Moreover, as you don't sit too high in the Compass, it gives you a very car-like feel behind the wheel. The steering wheel, it's meaty, and the steering feel is not exactly well weighted or quick, but it has a good connect to it. It's sometimes too heavy at city speeds, but the turn-in is nice and easy, making it fun around the corners. Of the two, Compass surely feels more agile. And if you want more fun behind the wheel, it's the American that you should consider. Even the ride quality has a hint of stiffness when driven at slow speed, but gets much better as you reach highway speeds. It becomes more absorbent and pliant and takes in undulations nicely. Add to it the rugged appeal, and you won't think twice when the road starts to disappear. And now over to the Harrier, and things are completely different here compared to the Compass. Firstly, you sit a bit taller. You get a good commanding position here from the steering wheel. But it can do a bit more user friendliness when it comes to its overall controls, especially for the newer drivers, because for newer drivers this commanding position, it could do with bit more visibility. For example, there's a big blind spot on this front A pillar, and even the rear visibility isn't that great. And the heavy controls that you get here in the Harrier as I mentioned earlier, if apart from you, some other family members wants to get behind the wheel, it could do with a bit more user friendliness, especially when you get the same or even better here in the Compass. Firstly, you hear a lot of engine clatter here, but that's just me nitpicking. You have a very responsive gearbox which pulls nicely at city speeds, and you also get a paddle shifters here which isn't available in the Compass. But it needs to be mentioned that these paddle shifters won't always obey your aggressive command, especially to save the gearbox. What you also get here that's not available in the Compass are drive modes. You get the usual Eco, City and Sports, and there's a difference in throttle response in each of these modes. Not something you'd use every day, but it's very helpful as bragging rights. Its ride is also much bland at city speeds compared to the Compass, and out on the highway it gets even better. But the steering feel is where the Harrier lacks, as it's far from offering a driver-centric feel when compared to the Compass. So after 5 very toughly fought rounds, which one of the two should you buy? Let's start with the Harrier first, and this one, it makes a good choice for people who want space, practicality, road presence and value for money. Its larger dimensions translate to a more space on the inside and a massive boot, making it ideal for families. It also has a better road presence, admittedly, with a design which is bold and futuristic. So no matter your age or gender, you would like how the way it looks. And of course, it is priced more handsomely of the two. It's almost 5 lakh rupees spec to spec less, including this top spec model, while offering more features and a larger dimensions. But why shouldn't you buy the Harrier and go for the Compass instead? Because of the two, the Harrier's refinement leaves some room for improvement. It's still a big SUV which might feel cumbersome in tight urban spaces, especially if your family member also decides to take the wheel occasionally. Lastly, Tata's reliability issues are well known, and if you aren't fine with frequent service center visits, you should stay away from the Harrier. And now let's move on to the Compass, but sure, let me get a few things out of the way first. The Compass, it has been around a bit longer and needs a major update to stay relevant. Secondly, it's also smaller of the two and has less features on offer, yet it's priced more than the two. And lastly, it still doesn't have an extensive service network across the country. But you should still consider buying the Compass if you want more finesse and a bit more premium car feel from your SUV. It's well put together, the design is still graceful if not flamboyant, and it has a built to last feel to it. It's also much better of the two to offer the driving pleasure that most of the SUVs are missing of late. It's more car-like and makes for a great mile muncher as well. And finally, because it has a character, an old school charm that's pragmatic and very rare to find. So which one's for you? Pick the Harrier if you're looking for a spacious, larger-than-life SUV that can handle Indian roads with ease. You want more value for money with a bold design and a feature-loaded cabin. And you don't mind trading some refinement for sheer size and presence. On the other hand, get the Jeep Compass if you value premium quality and refinement over its size and space. You need an SUV that's easy to live with in urban settings but still can go as a crow fly or tackle highway runs as easily as it does coffee runs and still feel premium while doing it. And lastly, you buy it simply because you are a fan of Jeep's long and celebrated heritage. So at the end of the day, both the Jeep Compass and the Tata Harrier, they prove that despite having a similar powertrain, in fact a same engine, both the cars can have a completely different character and they can cater to very different needs. In fact, they can be a preferable choice of two completely different set of buyers. But which of the two speaks to you on a personal level? Do let us know in the comment section below. And hope you liked this comparison, and if you did, do hit that like button and share this video with those who's looking to buy either of these SUVs who's looking to buy a DSUV at a price bracket of 20 to 30 lakh rupees. And if you like this comparison and if you like the format of this comparison and want other cars to be featured in this similar comparison, do write them down as well and we'll be happy to oblige. That's all from me in this video. This is Bilal signing off. Until next time.